Hey guys, this is Subram here, and today we're going to be talking about something that I normally do not talk about on this channel, just due to the age group. But however, due to the age group, I feel like that this is the right time to talk about this. Unfortunately, we're starting to see more instances of child grooming and child predation amongst our servers. And I felt like it was time for us to bring some light on this issue as well as talk about the people involved in these issues and so you guys can avoid them, as well as teach you guys some tips on how to avoid risky behavior when it comes to these sorts of situations. So basically this video is just going to be like a TLDR of what happened. We're just going to go over some key points of everything that happened. Obviously, everything that I say on here is not going to be like what's on the documents. They even have videos on there of DM's proof of everything that had happened. So with saying this, however, if you are sensitive to these kinds of topics, this is going to be a disclaimer right now. If you do not want to talk about this kind of issue or you don't want to watch this kind of video, I'd recommend clicking away. However, I do at least recommend taking a look at the documents and finding out the names of those people that were involved, or sticking around and watching the video so you guys can also get the names from this, because it's very important that you guys avoid these people that will be mentioned in this video. So we're going to start this off from this. Basically all seemed to have stemmed from a report from the server called Pandemonium, which was a Beast of Bermuda community server in which another user had reported a player by the name of Kylan the Terrible for sexual harassment. And from what the actual report document had stated is that they had met him in 2021 on another Bob server and had made increasingly sexual remarks, which included things like saying, "I flooded inside you" after giving eggs to buff with, or randomly out of the blue saying like "choke on a dick," as well as casually asking for nudes. The victim had also explained to Kylan that they were a lesbian and did not find the comments and remarks that he said as appealing. He didn't care and continued to harass her with those sexual remarks, which and then turned that report in the report document, which you guys will see in the description. Which another thing that I'd like to mention before we get on to the other victims that were involved with this, he did stop, as far as I'm aware, with the asking for nudes portion of it when it came to the victims that were between the ages of 13 and 16. I did not see anything like that. But there has at least been 6 or more victims of the sexual remarks that he had been saying, all ranging in the ages of 13 to 18 plus years. And he had been saying this stuff to different victims over a span of at least 3 to 4 years, as he is now 18 and started doing this towards the age of 15. And then, as you can tell with me making this video, this behavior had continued outside of Pandemonium towards the others, which bring in the underage victims. Kylan would say these things to these victims, which included things like racial slurs, obscene language, sexual insinuations. He would send provocative gifts to them, talking about his size, provocative emojis, and the victims would also ask him and his girlfriend when they, were talking about an uncomfortable topic to stop. From what they had told me, they would listen for a little bit, but then they would continue on later on down the line, just completely disrespecting their boundaries. And so then another person that he was with, which was his girlfriend, who would encourage these behaviors in front of the victims, their name was Dropnir, aka Dragons Are Family. Dropnir is 22 years of age, set to turn 23 in August. The victim testimony had stated that Dropnir was in fact with Kylan before he turned 18. The date of their relationship had started at 8/21/2022, as what their profile descriptions on Discord had stated. This does, though, confirm that Dropnir did have a relationship with him prior to becoming 18, since their relationship had started in November and his birthday was confirmed by screenshot as December 17th. She had also stated to another person about the questionable things that were being said in their chat and that she was worried about somebody sifting through those messages. In which comes the statement, as she said, "We have said worse is what I mean though, but we have never had our chat sifted through." That in of itself raises questions and red flags about Dropnir even more and makes them just as responsible as Kylan when it comes to the victims in the chat. The next person that we'll be speaking on is Vampire Spark, or Vamp for short. They were similar in the behaviors alike to Kylan, speaking on disturbing and sexual topics. They were told not to bring those subjects in front of the victims when they were speaking to them, but they would continue. They wouldn't even listen to them like what Dropnir and Kylan would do. They would just, I believe it was a she. She would just ignore them when it came to that.
Vampire Spark was also stated as making zoophilic comments, like talking about things like dino dicks, as well as with the NSFW Art Commission that we will be talking about in the next little segment here. It was actually a feral NSFW art piece of 2 Rexes. They also stated that they were going to be posting an NSFW art commission in their chat with the victims that were in it. You'll be able to see on the document, one of the victims did state that I am okay with so many things and feral porn is not one of them. One of the victims' testimony has also stated that they weren't sent any, but unfortunately, after doing my private one-on-one interviews with the victims, we had found out that the 16-year-old amongst the group was actually sent the NSFW art from Vamp under the pretense that it was just regular artwork. Vamp had also been continuing to attempt to harass one of the victims, in particular as recently as 5/10, which was when the interviews were done. Vamp has also been harassing multiple people to try to send messages to this particular victim, which we do not know why this particular victim is being sought out by Vamp, but I'm assuming it's because they put them on blast for this issue, which, I mean, this video is also kind of putting them on blast. But, you can't be doing these kinds of things when it comes to this community. It's just not appropriate and it's not okay. So we get into now the portion of the video where we talk about, what exactly is Kylan, Drop, and Vamp doing in this situation? Yes, all of this seems so terrible and it seems, it seems really bad, but what can we call this? It's not, some of these instances when it comes to Kylan and Vamp, it's not necessarily that it's a child predation, but it is child grooming. So grooming can be defined in multiple ways, but the way that this can be applied to Kylan, Drop, and Vamp, all legal adults, is that they're normalizing sexual behavior in front of minors. Grooming itself can be defined fully as the practice of preparing or training somebody for a particular purpose or activity. But child grooming is defined as befriending and establishing an emotional connection to a child which is under the age of consent with the objection or the objective of sexual abuse. One characteristic of child groomers is where they will show pornography to the child or talk about sexual topics, hoping that it would make it easier for them to accept those acts, which in of itself is normalizing the behavior. Whether or not we know or, we don't know that this was their actual intention was to abuse these children in that way, it still was their duties as adults to protect them from those behaviors in of itself. None of that should have ever happened. But, now to everybody that's out there, parents, server owners, everybody, and people a part of this community, one of the things is that we need to take this time to talk about how to protect yourself and your children when online. We've all heard horror stories similar to this that tells us that we have to be on guard when children are online. I have also dealt with multiple issues just similar to this, where I've actually had close friends do this kind of thing, and you never know that your closest friends could also be the people that do this kind of thing, because interestingly enough, actually 2 out of the 3 people that were mentioned, the adults, were friends of mine from an old server called Too Many Birds. And that's why I also felt like it's a personal responsibility to talk about it, because I was fooled. I was fooled by them, and so were a lot of other people when it came to this issue.
But, one of the biggest things, when talking to children about this issue is how to avoid like risky situations like these, which, starts with being aware of behaviors and consent. It's okay to say no when you're uncomfortable about a situation or a topic somebody's talking about. It's also about learning when people do not respect your boundaries and when you say no. If a situation becomes more than what you can handle, I recommend speaking to a parent or guardian to help you. Like I said, I'm addressing this because I have seen this happen too many times in these communities, and I feel like that we need to be on guard because, like I said, anybody that says that you're your friend could end up being a groomer or a predator. You never know. I'm not saying, to be on guard from your friends. Just if you see that kind of risky behavior, make sure to take a step back because, are you really seeing risky behavior or, are you seeing something else? You never want to put yourself in that situation though, just, always make sure to look at the telltale signs and, you should never be forced to do things that make you uncomfortable. So that's pretty much it for this video. Like I said, all of the documents and everything else that will be, that are referenced in this video are going to be in the description, as well as those videos in there for the other parts, like the, the actual DMs and whatnot that were shown will be in there as well. So I'd recommend making sure to check those out to make sure you guys are on guard because, like I said, these people can be anywhere, a part of these community, like they are a part of all these communities. They can be anywhere. As far as I'm aware, no legal action has been taken against them at this point in time, because obviously we don't know, who they actually are. So, like I said, just be on guard. Do your guys' best to avoid these risky situations. But that's it. I will see you guys in the next video. You guys have a good one, and please stay safe out there, and happy gaming.